Step outside the wall. This is outside the wall. Outside the wall.
What if the life you really want is waiting on the other side of the walls you've built? This is Outside the Walls, a podcast about breaking limiting beliefs and building a life that's actually yours. Through conversations about mindset, purpose, and life, we explore what it takes to step beyond comfort and into freedom. I'm Dave Gast. Let's step outside the walls. Caught myself doing it again the other morning, coffee in hand. Yes, my first cup of many, I might add. Laptop open, 5 tabs deep into the best morning routine for high performers. Not working, not creating, just optimizing. And it felt productive. And that's the dangerous part, because the feeling of getting better had completely replaced actually getting better. There's this quiet loop a lot of us fall into. You tell yourself you're leveling up, dialing things in, finding the edge, but really likely avoiding the hard part. The part where it's boring, repetitive, and kind of unimpressive. And I used to think I was one system away, one framework, one habit stack, one perfectly designed morning, and then everything would click. But nothing clicked, because every time I switched systems, I reset. Back to zero again, starting all over from zero. And have you ever noticed how planning, how it feels good? Color-coded calendars, how pretty they are. That new app, the clean workspace. You know, let's go back to the late 80s, early 90s, where Stephen Covey had the great planner. And yes, I had one. And then, we moved over to the Palm Pilots, and then the iPhone came out, and there's CRMs and all this other stuff. It gives you a little dopamine hit, like you accomplished something, but you didn't. You just got ready to maybe accomplish something, a huge difference. And this is what I'd call productivity procrastination. Looks sharp on the outside, feels intentional, but pull back the covers, it's just like avoidance wearing a suit, like lipstick on a pig. And right now, it's never easier to fall into that than it has been in the past. These new AI tools, productivity stacks, morning routines that kind of look like a full-time job. Everyone's building this aesthetic life, perfect desk, perfect habits, perfect structure. But real work, yeah, it's messy. It doesn't look good on camera, and it definitely doesn't feel optimized. There's a moment where curiosity turns into an excuse. You tell yourself, I just need to learn a little bit more before I start. But what you're actually doing is delaying the friction, because starting is uncomfortable and finishing, it's even worse. So what do we do instead? We organize, we tweak, we redesign, we move things around, but that feels like we're in control. But that does not move the needle. The people who are actually winning, they're not chasing systems every month. They're doing the same boring things over and over for a long time, longer than most people are willing to stay interested. And that's where the real advantage shows up, not in innovation, but in repetition. And really, I'd like to add that, the fundamentals still apply. Be on time. Show respect for the other person's schedule. Do what you say you're going to do and hold yourself accountable. I started noticing this in my own life. The times I made real progress weren't exciting. They were predictable, almost dull. Same action, same time, same effort. Day after day. And, people around me, they could pretty much predict what I'm likely to do next. No breakthrough moment, no dramatic shift, just quiet stacking. And it compounds just like invested money. Not fast, not flashy, but it builds. And this is how you change. When things start to feel repetitive, when the excitement fades, that's usually the exact moment you're about to get somewhere. But instead of pushing through that plateau, we typically switch to a new habit, new system, new ideas, and we start over. And it's just like planting seeds and then digging them up every week to see if they're growing. Of course, nothing's happening. You won't leave anything in the ground long enough to make it happen. And I've done this more times than I'd want to admit, jumping from idea to idea, think I was improving, when really I'm just resetting the needle back to zero. So I started simplifying. Not 10 habits, not a full routine, 3 at most, and things that actually mattered. It's just like me launching this podcast. Been a long time listener, first time caller, in this case, first time launcher. But I went out, I hired a coach, set a timeline, and defined the steps in a daily cadence. A lot of things I didn't know, but I pushed through to get these things done. I made that non-negotiable, and it wasn't exciting, not optimized, just consistent. And that's when things started to shift, not overnight, but steadily. Because when you remove the noise, you remove the decision fatigue. And when you remove the decisions, you simply execute. And execution is the cornerstone. And here's something that helped me more than anything. I stopped allowing new systems for a while. No new frameworks, no new productivity videos, no new habit ideas. Simply execution on what I already knew worked. Call it a research ban that I did on myself. Because the truth is, you probably already know what to do. You just haven't done it long enough. And I get it. Doing the same thing every day, it isn't sexy. It doesn't feel like growth, but it is. In fact, that's the whole darn game. Consistency creates a kind of quiet separation. And most people won't stick with anything long enough. They'll get bored, distracted, get pulled into the next better way. And if you don't follow them, you win. Not because you found something new, but because you didn't quit what already worked for you. So here's something to try this week. Nothing complicated. Pick 3 things, at most 3 actions, and decide what's most important to you. It could be relationships. It could be a career thing. It could be your health. It doesn't matter what it is. Find out what is important to you that would actually move your life forward. Not a full routine, and then do them every day. No upgrades, no tweaks. And here's the hard part. Stop consuming those how-to content for a week. No productivity videos, no new systems. Hey, no morning routine inspiration. There's that ban we talked about. Take all that time and put it into doing. It feels weird at first, like you're missing something. That good old FOMO sets in, like you should be optimizing. Believe me, you're not. You're finally working. And if you can sit in that and push through the boredom, stay with it longer than you want to, you'll start to see something most people never do. Progress, real progress. Not because you found the perfect system, but because you stopped searching for one and just go to work outside the walls.
This is outside the wall. Outside the wall.
Thanks for spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, and share with someone that you think would benefit from hearing this message. I'm Dave Gast. Keep stepping outside the walls.